Nicolas Cage smokes butts, and he lights them with demon skulls. This is Spoilers.
This is Spoiler.
Hello, everybody. I just spoilered my favorite, probably most laugh-out-loudy part of the movie, and I just want to go around and introduce everyone super quick, and maybe you can say what your favorite part of Mandy was. Mandy 2018, the film we're reviewing tonight. Let's start with Pappy.
Hey, this is Pappy, recording from Denver, Colorado, and my favorite part was the, maybe not my favorite part, but one of the parts that stuck out the most to me was when they're in the van waiting to do the kidnapping, or waiting for the muscle to show up, and the guy's playing with the window, and he rolls it down. Rolls it up.
That's
like
a great moment.
3 or 4 times.
That is a great moment.
Cracked me up.
Did you think, was that suspenseful too for you? Did you think something bad was about to happen?
I don't know, because up to that point, the movie's such a slow burn. It's like right before it really takes a turn into the violent. So it's a nice little moment of levity right before that happens.
Can I do my Chuck Freebie segue now?
Please.
Speaking of slow burns, Stevie, you love slow burning movies like Drive. What was your favorite part of Mandy?
Favorite part of Mandy is when he's in the kitchen with those crackhead demons, or it's actually just one demon. It's kind of like a fight to the death, and he like slams his head against the cupboard and snaps his neck. And Nicolas Cage has his best Bruce Lee impression with the face he gives. It's such an awesome part.
Oh man, it is.
Yeah, phenomenal part.
And recording in my basement, approximately 16 inches away from my face, Money Mikey, how you doing? What was your favorite part of the movie that you just watched?
Very fresh off the movie, but there's a couple scenes where Nic Cage is like kind of flashing back or having an acid trip, and he's just like smiling at the wheel of this car like a madman. He kind of does that multiple times throughout the movie, just kind of like staring off into space, smiling to nothing. It's kind of funny.
I love those parts too. And then lastly but not least, we have a new spoiler man on tonight. Zach, you're in Florida.
Yeah,
right?
man. I'm in Central Florida, pretty close to Orlando.
So, new Floridian correspondent. What was your favorite part of the movie?
Hey, man, actually, the same scene that you mentioned, man. The part where he's fighting the demon guy by the burning car, and then he sets him on fire. He slashes his head off with his epic battle axe, and then he picks up the cigarette and lights it from the burning decapitated head, and then he just, takes a super long drag. He's got this crazy ass look in his eyes, like he's just gone to another dimension. I was just like, dude, this film is something else, man. That was a really fun moment. So yeah, I'd have to say that one.
Well, thank you for bringing it full circle naturally. That doesn't happen too often on Spoilers. But I just want to toss it to you guys. This film is broken up by actual titles that come up, and they look very much like the titles from Stranger Things. And
oh, yeah, that's true.
Good point.
The first one is The Shadow Mountains, 1983 AD. And Pappy, why don't you just lead us into how the movie starts and Nic Cage's, we'll just call him Nic Cage. I think his name is Red in the movie, but Nic Cage's relationship with Mandy.
How was your day?
It was pretty cool. I was reading that book about the galaxy.
That big, thick one?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
What's your favorite planet?
Jupiter. Yeah, no doubt.
Jupiter.
Where do you guys think the Shadow Mountains are? Is it like the Northwest or something?
I thought it was
probably?
somewhere up in Washington or Oregon.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Maybe even I don't know, maybe Alaska, but yeah. So it's 1983 in the Shadow Mountains, and Nic Cage is some kind of I heard him on another podcast described as like a specialist lumberjack, but he's they helicopter him into the woods, and he's taking out the big heavy duty trees. But this whole first part is just a really slow burn, and we see a day in the life of him. His name's Red, right? And
yeah,
his girlfriend or wife or something, Mandy. And they hang out at home. They do drugs, I guess. She paints. I don't know. Stevie, were you I recommended this movie to you. Were you drawn in by this early part, or did you think it was boring?
Were you drawn in as much as Nic Cage was to Mandy's drawings?
Okay, so I watched this movie at the wrong time, which is immediately after work. And from the reviews I read, I thought this was going to be like almost Mad Max, like from beginning to end, just Nic Cage going crazy. Not the case.
Almost like Evil Dead 2 frenetic. No, it's a really slow burn.
Not the case. It's a real slow burn. So I was almost drifting off at moments, but I picked up on a couple things. It seemed obvious that these two had pretty like troubled lives growing up, or like even like I think Nic Cage was either like a recovering drug addict or a recovering alcoholic, one of the two. And it seemed like Mandy also had a pretty like rough like upbringing. But I was drawn in by just the way like the shots were because there was a lot of bright colors in this movie.
Wait, did you think he was
Whether
an
it be like
alcoholic?
bright blue or bright red?
Yeah, where'd you get the feeling?
Is it because when he's on the helicopter, the guy offers him a beer and Nic Cage gets this like foul look on his face and just shakes his head no in slow motion?
No.
Yeah.
That's an old me. Yeah. Were there any other... Zach, we were talking a little bit before the pod, and Stevie mentioned it there. You two, did you guys see anything else that hinted at a troubled past, as you guys both said so separately, I think?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Mandy and how she had the scar in her face, and she just kind of has like a haunted look to her. So, I mean, it was really kind of broad, but oh yeah, you know what? The story that she tells the story about the starlings.
Oh yeah.
That scene. So, like, I mean, you pretty much get the idea that these are both people who have had some psychological trauma in their past. But they found each other and they seem to have found some kind of peace with each other.
Do you think she was telling the truth about the conclusion of that story? Because she tells Nic Cage that she didn't kill one, but like she kind of like looks away and then like I don't know. I got the impression, especially because I rewatched this morning, that she was lying about that. And that
interesting
I don't know why.
point.
Yeah, but
oh, that's good. I'll have to look at that again. It's very possible.
I didn't think that because of how pure and like peaceful she seems at this point in the movie, but if she did have a troubled past, I don't think it'd be like out of her character. But
the lack of eyebrows, she has a troubled past.
Yeah.
But Mikey, you and her have pretty much the same taste in music, I think.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna compare this movie to anything, I think you gotta compare it to like a 70s or 80s like rock opera type music video or something, because I think it's like heavily influenced by like gothic rock and
heavy metal.
And is there ever a shot in the movie that doesn't have like a neon flare or fog to it?
Oh no, that's like the best part of this movie is the lighting and stuff like that.
It's constant.
Yeah, and when Nic Cage is like driving through the forest, like the trees are lit up red, which would never happen in real life, obviously. But it's just the way that this guy lights the movie. Or I don't know if you guys have ever seen or heard of this movie called Suspiria, but it looks a lot the same. It's like really bright reds and stuff, and it's also a horror movie, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm super interested to see just because of how it looks.
I've seen it, and I can vouch for that, man. It looks a lot like Mandy. It's very surreal, super intense red, super intense blues. It's very dreamlike. It's out there, man. I mean, it's a 70s Italian horror movie, very arty and surreal. So it's not for everybody, but if you dig the way Mandy looked, definitely check it out.
And it was just remade, I think, like this year. So I think there's two of them. If you want to watch another movie like this.
Is the remake good? Is it well regarded?
It hasn't come out yet, I don't think. I think it comes out like, I don't know, end of October.
So just kind of to put this conversation at rest, does anyone have anything else to say? Is this? I mean, this part of the movie is very interesting. Like, this is very much not John Wick, where the puppy dies 5 minutes in. This is half of the movie is the bad stuff. It's kind of like Home Alone a little bit in that setup, but
I have one more thing to say about the Shadow Mountain.
I love comparing things to the Home Alone, but yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Oh God,
Eric Estrada.
Eric Estrada who?
Eric Estrada from Chips. I love that part.
That was something else.
Knock, knock.
You scared the hell out of me.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Eric Estrada.
Eric Estrada who?
Eric Estrada from Chips.
I don't know. Maybe is Nic Cage too Nic Cagey at times in this movie? Is he too much of a parody of himself? Because Josh, you mentioned that you listen to that Bald Move podcast, and I've heard them before too. They do a really good Game of Thrones podcast, but they were kind of making the point that he's too much of a parody of himself.
Yeah, they said they read that this is Nicolas Cage's best performance, and then they watched the movie, which they got to see pre-release, by the way. Still waiting for those spoilers pre-releases, but...
Well, we did get Sandow.
We did get...
Sandow the Great.
Wait, didn't we have... We actually did have Baby Driver.
And Baby Driver, yeah, that's true.
That's true. But anyway, like...
Thanks, Ed, you're right.
Yeah, they said basically they went to it expecting like a very great performance, and they didn't get it. But I really did think in the first act, Nicolas Cage had a nuanced character. He wasn't just balls out Nicolas Cage. Like, he really earned that by the end of the film, I felt like.
He's also barely in it for like the first half of the movie. The second half of the movie is more.
That's a good point.
But also, the whole movie is like, hey, we need Nicolas Cage to go crazy. He's going to do drugs in the movie, and he's going to kill people. And he can pull that off pretty well.
He's going to do zombie crack. He'll be just fine.
So moving into the next act, which is called Children of the New Dawn. Pappy, we're talking about the van and like the rolling up of the window. But do you want to tell us about the other people that can be found in said van?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to need some help. So there's one guy, the guy who is rolling down the window, and I don't know the character names, so if anyone has the IMDb, feel free to jump in.
Can we just go with Blonde Mullet 1?
Sure.
I call him Slackjaw
I like that.
in my notes. His jaw is always askew a little bit.
Oh, man.
He doesn't seem to be all the way there. There's a guy who ends up getting sacrificed who's a little bit like Augustus Gloop-esque.
Just like Brucey from Matilda.
Yes, there you
from
go.
Harry Potter. His cousin.
Oh, my God.
I don't know who's like the right hand man's name. He's a character I should know.
Brother Swan.
Yes, that's right, Brother Swan.
Brother Swan, yeah. He's he's kind of the brains of these guys. And then is anybody else? The old lady?
There's a muscly guy.
Yeah. Freaky guy. He's got like the guy who had the giant chainsaw in the chainsaw fight. That dude.
What's longer, the penis of a sperm whale or that chainsaw?
Tough question.
I wrote that joke ahead of time. Anyway, go ahead, Pat. Keep describing the people.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, I'm running thin. So yeah, we got the old lady.
Well, the women.
Yeah, the old lady who's the most sensual lover the cult leader's ever had because she's so empathetic.
Vital information.
Yeah, and then another sort of younger woman who I'm guessing got Mandied before and kind of had to drink the Kool-Aid as it was. I think that's everybody, right?
I think that's everyone.
I think that was the whole Manson family right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-dum.
Stevie, why does the Manson character key in on because I think that's where the movie goes from here. He, in a passing glance, I don't know, can you describe that scene? It's pretty far out there.
Dude, it's weird. It's so weird. You're talking about when the whole frame is red?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then like yeah.
They keep like, I think he's out of it on acid or LSD or something. He's in the passenger seat going down a dirt road. And Mandy's just walking on the side of the road, I'm guessing to work or just going for a walk because it's beautiful out there. And the whole frame turns red and it's really slow motion. And there's like I guess you could say like a pretty high frame rate. And he just keeps looking at Mandy because I'm guessing because she looked pure to him. Am I right on that?
Sounds about right.
I don't know why he singles her out.
Maybe he's just really into Motley Crue, and he's like, oh, it's a sweet t-shirt. She must be mine.
But yeah, it was a very odd scene. I was like, oh, here's where it's going to start to get really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, I know you've done a lot of research and seen a lot of interviews about this movie. Do you have any idea why he keys in on her like that?
So, I can tell you one thing. The guy who played Jeremiah Sands, he said that him and the director kind of imagined that Jeremiah Sand was like kind of the male ego gone crazy. So like, you know, part of his character is he just sees something and he feels entitled to take it, right? So pretty much the way that I saw it was that he saw Mandy, he was bored with his concubines that he already had in his little Manson cult.
Yeah.
And he basically just saw her, found her, alluring and attractive. And so he latched onto her and just decided that he wanted her, perhaps there's some more to it than that, but I know that at least on some level, it's just he's an egotistical asshole. He thinks the world owes him something and that whatever he wants, he gets to have it, and people are just tools for him to use. So I kind of just saw it as he wanted her to be his newest, concubine for his little group.
Well, he has that one monologue where he's like staring right into the camera after Mandy takes acid, where he says something to that exact effect, where he's like, yeah, we're all one, and because we're all one, everything is mine, which that's a definite breakdown of the hippie logic. I don't remember that last part being part of the mantra.
It's like, oh man, yeah, it's pretty funny. They kind of like, what's kind of interesting about that guy is he's kind of like a hippie, but like a perverted hippie. Like he's, they mentioned something about peace and love, and they kind of look like they're a wandering band of hippies, but yet he's like sadistic, man. Like he's a fake hippie, a false hippie.
And he's kind of, he compares himself to the opposite of Christ, in that Christ would sacrifice himself for everyone, but he's willing to sacrifice everyone else. Like, doesn't he have that exact line almost? Like that was,
he does.
That was Jesus' big mistake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He said Jesus should have offered a sacrifice in his stead. So, like, in other words, he was an idiot because instead of sacrificing himself, he should have just offered someone else as a sacrifice.
You know what Jesus' big mistake was? Huh? He didn't offer up a sacrifice in his stead. The cruciform is a constant reminder of that.
We used to have that segment on here where we named the Christ-like character, but Stevie, did you pick up on any imagery? I feel like Nic Cage is maybe the Christ-like character.
In what way?
Maybe the second coming.
Well, he gets his hand nailed through or something, right?
Yeah.
Ooh,
And he gets
very
stabbed
true.
in the side, and then when he's like...
And he got the crown of thorns, the barbed wire.
Yeah.
Let me reel us back to the plot a little bit. So,
Sorry.
The one thing that's different about like Charles Manson and this guy in the movie is this guy seems to have actually some sort of access to power, and the way he gets Mandy is he gives his second in command, Brother Swan. He gives him like a horn.
The horn of the Praxis.
He goes out there like the Green Ranger and starts blowing his horn. And who shows up, Stevie?
The Black Skull's demon biker gang.
But describe them, because it is nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, they're like... I don't know how to describe it. They're pretty much the most terrifying things you can... Were they
The
human?
ring race.
Like, were they human at all?
Barely.
They were once something like a man.
Human-like, yeah.
They look like orcs. They look like orcs on motorcycles. That's the best way I can describe it.
They're into BDSM.
Yeah.
There you go.
Some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Some
Have you guys
Thunderdome
ever
type
seen...
character.
Yeah, Thunderdome, Hellraiser. I don't know if you guys have seen Hellraiser, but they definitely got that vibe, too. Like BDSM demons.
Like Pinhead? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the Marilyn Manson guy is able to call upon these beings to like do his bidding, and in return he like sacrifices the piggy character like Pappy talked about.
Because they eat humans, so why not give them the fat one?
Yeah, and they love to drink blood and stuff. But this is actually where the movie gets pretty terrifying, when the group actually infiltrates the main couple's house.
Mm-hmm.
Which they already have like the scariest bedroom in the world. Like, who wants to sleep surrounded by glass in the middle of the woods? That would be terrifying.
A bear could just walk through that wall, through all of their walls.
Yeah.
Oof.
Hope a tree doesn't fall on you, because you're screwed.
It's weird because you could see where that would be super peaceful, but also super creepy. But that guy's like, they make no bones about it and literally just like crash in and just take him. Nic Cage ends up tied with barbed wire to a fence, completely incapacitated. They even stab him with like this weird, crazy demon knife. But Stevie, how do they dispatch of poor old Mandy?
Well, after Jeremiah Sand gets turned down because he shows his tiny dick off to her, and
I can't believe I
monologues.
missed that part.
The Carpenters.
Yeah, and he monologues forever, and he plays a song of his that is just terrible.
You gotta play a clip of that song.
It's about to start.
Every seed that gives us life, every man must take a wife. Only one sun ever shines, only one sun, yours and mine. Jeremiah's sin was righteous.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and he's expecting like a greater response from Mandy, but she just ends up laughing at him, making him feel very small. So, was it Brother Swan that hoists her up?
Well, let's not skip to that. In that meeting room, they also administer some crazy drugs, right?
Yeah, Mandy gets an eyedropper full of LSD or acid or whatever, and then she also gets stung in the neck with a wasp before this meeting, and
What
was
does the
really
old lady,
gross.
what does the old lady say? I like to call that the cherry on top. What?
That wasp was freaky, man.
Every article I saw online kept calling that a beetle, but that looked like the wasp family to
not
me.
a beetle.
Oh yeah, it looked
Not
like
a
it had
beetle.
wings. It had wings and a stinger. It looked like a wasp. A freaky ass giant wasp, but a wasp nonetheless.
It's like the size of a hand.
Yeah.
So, not to call anyone out on the pod, but if you want to volunteer this information, has anyone here done crazy wasp drugs?
Sadly, no.
Not voluntarily.
No, I have not
I've been
done.
offered, but I said no because I said no to drugs.
That's right,
is that,
kids.
is that
Anyone-
even a real thing? Like, I mean, I've heard of like licking toads, but I've never heard of getting stung by a bug. That doesn't seem.
Yeah, me neither, man. Me neither.
Young Jamie, pull it up.
Yeah, Steve, I interrupted you, though. You're about to say how they dispatched Mandy.
So, pretty much after being infatuated with Mandy and she turns down Jeremiah's sand, he goes on this giant ego trip, pretty much just calling her a whore and unworthy, and that the world needs to be cleansed of all whores and people like Mandy.
Because
So
she
they put
laughs
her in
at
a-
his dick and his music. Like, just flat out.
Bro had a tiny dick. Let's just get that out there. Like, she laughed pretty hard. But they
It's all
like
relative.
they like yeah, I guess.
But he doesn't want to be hanging dong in the same movie as Vigo. I'll tell you that.
It's on the casting call sheet. We need a guy with long blonde hair and a small wiener for this role.
Oh, man.
Vigo.
So they hoist her in a bag, like on a tree, and like they straight light her on fire in front of Nic Cage, and just leave her to burn while Nic Cage watches. Like, it's a pretty intense scene, honestly.
Pretty brutal.
Kind of freaked me out.
Definitely was.
The darker the horror, the brighter the flame.
Yeah, Nic Cage brought his A game for that scene, man. He was definitely, bringing some intensity to that moment.
I don't know. I really did think he showed range in this movie. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not, but between the tender moments between him and Mandy earlier and then the complete terrified, sad, broken down man.
Yeah.
And Pappy, we both chose very similar images to post to Instagram. And
that was funny.
Posted them almost simultaneously without each other knowing. But what was that scene that... Because I think this pretty much comes next. What was that?
Yeah, so all of this is
Yeah,
still
I want to
happening at...
retract and make this my favorite scene.
It's pretty great. Yeah, so all this is happening at Nic Cage's house, and he's able to like pull his hands out from the barbed wire trap that they're in, and he like bloodily makes his way into the house, and he goes into this room that has this awesome 80s, actually it's probably like more 70s looking wallpaper. It's like brown and orange and like hexagon, and I think the room has like carpet too, like orange carpet, but it looks like something out of a Wes Anderson movie. And then he like goes to his dresser and straight leaving Las Vegas style, Nic Cage chugs this bottle of vodka like down to like, and it's like screaming the whole time too.
Crying.
Glug, glug,
He's
glug,
crying
glug,
while
glug.
chugging this vodka.
But he's also using it to sterilize his wounds.
It's visually striking. It's hilarious. It's intense. It's awesome.
And he's got no pants on.
Yeah, no pants.
No pants. His whitey
Important
tighties.
detail. Very
Yeah.
important detail. Yeah, man, the great set design, man. It was like, I kind of, after thinking about it for a while, it was almost like kind of like he was in his own little like microcosm of hell, you know? It's like super intense and bright. The love of his life was just killed. He's in anguish. And it's just like one long, steady shot, you know? It's almost like theater or something like that. You just get to see him go, you know, through the whole range of human emotions. It's very well done. I gotta give Cage credit, man.
So yeah,
And
he
not
chugs
only
it-
did, well, I was
Yeah.
going to say the death of her, she's burned, but then after he gets out of the barbed wire, he finds like her burned skull, and it still like looks like her face, and then it blows away in the wind. It's like super devastating.
Oh yeah, it was freaky, man.
God.
Freaky.
Well,
Yeah.
So you have that series of events. It's like the burning of his girlfriend, super graphic. Then his like bloody escape, and then like the emotional wreckage of him drinking the vodka. And he comes out of the room, and then there's this commercial on TV for cheddar goblins, like a cheesy poops like snack.
Oh my god, that was
And-
great.
And it hangs on it for like 30 seconds. It's so funny. And like over the top, and Nic Cage has this like perplexed look on his face the whole time.
I honestly think he's grappling already with, like, am I going to just be fine with turning straight evil Sith if it means killing everyone? And he's like, hell yes, this is what I want to do.
Did you know all the macaroni and cheese?
Nothing's better than cheddar.
Cheddar goblin.
Yeah, man, the commercial was great. I kind of saw it like it was almost kind of like a slap in the face to him, because it was like he just went through this horrifying, devistating experience, and then here's this stupid ass macaroni and cheese commercial with these kids being like, "Yay, cheddar goblin!" You know, it's just like it's like, you know, no, it was like life doesn't care, man. Like life doesn't care if your loved one just died. You know, it just keeps going. The stupid commercials just keep going. So that's kind of how I saw it. And yeah, it was funny as fuck. It was totally out there.
I think it's pretty much after that he decides to go to his friend's house, who's maybe the freakiest looking person in this movie, Bill Duke.
dude from Predator?
That's right. Yeah. Dude, that guy's great.
Why did I? Well, first of all, there's like a little acorn left earlier when not Marilyn Manson, but Charles Manson character, when he's like interrogating Mandy, he's like, "What do you see?" And she's supposed to say like, "Your hot dick," but instead she says like, "The Reaper comes soon." And there's like this tie-in that his crossbow is named the Reaper. But
Interesting. That's cool. I didn't
actually
know
had to
that.
rewind twice and put on the subtitles to catch that one. But Mikey, what's he do at the Duke's? Bill Duke, and how freaky is Bill Duke?
So he's after he like cleans himself up, and he drives over to I don't know, is it his neighbor or something? They're in the middle of the woods somewhere, and so he just
Just like
drives.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, everybody lives on no address street, so he drives to Bill Duke's house, and he knocks on the door, and he yells at him to go away because he doesn't know who it is because he didn't look outside, and then he just keeps knocking, and Bill Duke lets him in, and he's like, "Oh shit, it's you," and he's been holding on to his crossbow. This is also pointing towards him having a troubled past, because Bill Duke is like, what do you need that for? And he's like, "I'm going hunting." And he's like, what are you hunting for? And then he goes on this like little speech of like, fucking Jesus freaks, man, or something. He's like, pure evil. And then Bill Duke is like, well, if you're going hunting for Jesus freaks or whatever, then you're going to need these arrows that go through bone and stuff. And he hooks him up with some super strong arrows. And I don't know why he just doesn't give him a gun. But he acquires upgrades to a crossbow here. And then I think after that, he's out at the forge crafting his battle axe.
Yeah, so what do you guys think of the weapon choices in this movie?
Was
especially
glorious.
his main two. What's that, Stevie?
So I thought the battle axe was awesome. Especially like the way he was like forging it and the way they filmed it and just like its shiny look to it. Like that was cool.
It was very freaking cool.
And I was over at Josh's today and it looked just like a Fortnite axe apparently.
He doesn't have a face mask. All he has is aviators for protection.
That's true.
Yeah.
And he is like a lumberjack as established earlier. So this is like the axe for killing folks instead of trees or something.
Yeah.
This axe kills redwoods, that's for sure.
I thought the crossbow was a little bit of a letdown because I think he only uses it twice.
And it's not very effective.
Yeah, so
That's true. That's true.
moving along on the plot, I don't know, Pappy, if you want to talk about how he, like, the bad guys, they left him for dead, so he comes after him, and it's kind of a surprising order. I thought the demons were going to be like the big bads at the end, but
Nope. Not really, yeah. He goes after the demons first. Like the first one, what does he do? He like snipes one of their tires or something, I think, with the crossbow. And then he fights it.
Yeah. He rams it with his truck.
Yeah.
And then he's crashed. But yeah, going back to your question, Josh, about the weapons, like, I remember at the part with the crossbows, like, he's in the woods, he's aiming at the dude with his crossbow. And I remember thinking to myself exactly what you just said, like, why doesn't he use a gun? I mean, like, what the hell, Why doesn't he have rifles or shotguns? And then it kind of dawned on me, it's like, wait a second, it's because this is a fantasy, And like it's like the movie is becoming more and more like a dark fantasy kind of novel, like one of the novels Mandy was reading earlier in the story,
That's true.
And so I'm like, hey man, in a fantasy, the hero uses like medieval style weapons. Like you've got your battle axe, you've got your, crossbow. So that's why, I think at least on some level, that's why you don't really see a whole lot of gun action in the movie. It's mostly
I totally
like medieval
agree,
style weapons.
But I think what makes this movie cool is that I think the crossbow is actually explained because they live out in the woods and he probably used to hunt deer. And then we know from like this one scene where like Mandy stumbles upon this baby deer that died naturally. She's like really in touch with that sort of stuff and probably wouldn't let him keep hunting. So
okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Good connection.
So, but I don't think you're wrong at all though. This movie kind of goes off the rockers when
Hold up. Was that deer supposed to be eaten by the demons? Or was it just
I think they just like human flesh.
Apparently.
I didn't know what happened to that deer.
It was such a weird part, too, because it's like 45 seconds of the deer, then Mandy, then the deer, then Mandy, then the deer, then Mandy.
That's every scene in this movie. Everything is really slow in this movie. All the scenes are
True.
almost in slow motion. That's just like the style of the movie. But yeah, everything is really long takes and stuff.
We did skip over one part though, Josh. Because like when every time Nic Cage gets like knocked out or captured or sleeps or something, it cuts to like an animated sequence.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Steve, you're a big fan of animation. It's very heavy metal inspired, that animated movie. What do you think about those sequences in this movie?
I actually look forward to those sequences a lot. I thought they were really cool, really well done. Because you don't see a lot of that in movies. The only only one that really comes to mind, even just mainstream movie, is like Kill Bill. That's what it kind of reminded me of.
Mhm.
But
That's right.
Yeah, I love those sequences a lot. I thought they were really well done, and I actually kind of look forward to him getting knocked out.
It actually reminded me of the Appetite for Destruction Guns N' Roses album art. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that before, but
Oh yeah,
I think
I've seen it.
I was thinking about this art a lot later. I don't really know what to make of it. They kind of come back to it 3 or 4 times. Does anyone have any guesses what it all means?
They're all pretty abstract. I think like the first one, Mandy is just like her face is melting or something. That's like the first animated sequence, and then there's another sequence where Mandy's reaching into some monster that's like dying and pulls out a green cube or something. Like none of them
One
make
time she's like
too much
peacefully
sense.
floating in the ocean.
None of them. They're just like abstract kind of thoughts, I think.
One of the demon guys that he gets in a fight with and is killing says like, "She still burns," and he's like yelling that. So there's like some level of like he's trying to save Mandy's soul or something. Anybody catching whiffs of that or not?
Dude, that's a really, really good observation. You're right. Because, yeah, the demon that he's fighting, the one that he decapitates and, lights a cigarette, that one, he was like, she burns. And then the bald dude, Brother Swan, when he goes to kill him, doesn't he say something like, Mandy is still burning brightly or something to that effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's a really good observation. That's kind of cool. It's like she's trapped in an underworld or something like that.
Evil Dead 2. Even now, she burns in hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's too funny.
There's a lot of Evil Dead stuff probably in here.
Chainsaw, Bruce Campbell.
Oh,
Bruce,
yeah.
I think
Big
Nicolas
time.
Cage is definitely channeling some Bruce Campbell in this movie.
For sure.
Definitely.
And yeah, man, I read an interview with the director where he said that part of the reason they had the animated sequences is because in most revenge movies, when the person dies, the loved one dies, you just kind of forget about them. Like they're gone, you never see them in the movie again. But he said that he wanted the spirit of Mandy to like continue to haunt the movie as the movie went on. So I think at least on some level, the animated sequences were to like kind of show her presence, or like maybe her presence in Nic Cage's mind. Which I thought was kind of, an interesting way to look at it.
Maybe it's too much to try to dig up meaning from the actual sequences, but it's more of just a constant reminder, which is a good point.
Sure.
So I think we're pretty much to the part where Kevin pulls all the traps on the bad guys. So if you guys just want to pass it around the room and start talking about deaths that you liked, because there's a lot in
Nice.
He murders the whole, demon thug gang, and there's 4 or 5 of those. I'm kind of confused. And then he completely deletes from the map the entire Manson family as well. So feel free to jump in here and describe a death.
One falls through the moon door from Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. That was random.
He probably had the best death. He had the easiest death.
Mine, I thought was kind of funny, was a precursor to that death where he snaps that dude's neck. Is after he goes after the demon that's watching 70s style porn.
Yeah.
And kills him. Which that was really weird because I kept focusing on that TV. You're like, oh, old school. All right. That dude, the demon comes out the shotgun and tries shooting him. And he just goes, "You ripped my shirt! You ripped my shirt!" I thought that part was awesome.
You ripped my shirt! You ripped my shirt!
And that's when he snaps his neck.
Even the shirt
It was
has
awesome.
a callback in this movie. It's pretty well written. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
Then right after he snaps that guy's neck, he goes over to the big pile of coke and just does the most I've ever seen anyone do in a movie.
The demon coke?
Basically, yeah.
Yep.
He does it off a big shard of glass and then takes a sip of this demon acid or whatever too. And then there's another sequence where it's practical effect of a plastic Nic Cage face melting, which I thought was pretty cool. So
it was fucking awesome.
There's a lot of
so cool.
I don't know, whenever Nic Cage is either tripping out or passed out or dreaming or something, there's always some kind of weird visual going on. So it's pretty interesting.
Also in that scene, so I saw this in theaters. They had like a one-night showing at a theater in Orlando I was able to catch. And the part where also in that room, Nic Cage has the big ass like ogre demon guy fall on him and like pin him to the ground, and then he slashes his throat, and there's just like a waterfall of freaking blood that's just like dousing him in the face, and you know, you see that in movies, you know, you see a lot of throat slashings in movies, but like that, the blood just keeps going, and then Nic Cage starts like laughing like a maniac, like gargling the blood, and dude, in the theater, everybody was just like laughing at the sheer absurdity. It was a great moment. Just people were like, "Oh my god, this is fucking insane!" So
I guarantee
got a good reaction.
That took one take. I bet you he nailed that first try.
Wouldn't doubt it.
That's another Evil Dead callback to me. Just fountains of blood like that.
That's totally true. Yeah.
I think we covered all the demons. You guys want to start jumping into Manson family murders? Because this part was, I mean, I was surprised he went after the demons first, and he really struggles against them physically in kind of hand-to-hand combat. And now he approaches the Manson family, who is not as well armed or ready for him. And it's kind of more just straight, like, I don't want to say just feel-good violence, but
Well, before
It was a good time.
Satisfying. Yeah.
before he gets to the Manson family, he gets to like where they're making the LSD, and there's weird guy who's like pupils are ginormous, and he's like tripping on LSD, and he's got a tiger in a cage with him for some reason, which is pretty weird because I think Nic Cage probably bought a tiger at some point too. I wouldn't doubt it, but
That's his tiger on
Would not be
loan.
surprised.
yeah, he releases the tiger, and then like the guy who's making the LSD like opens his mouth towards the sky, and then like he looks down and he's like, they're north. So that's how Nic Cage like finds him. But then the scene transition is the tiger like roaring at the moon. It looks like a t-shirt you would buy at Goodwill or something. It's freaking awesome.
No,
I
it's like
love it.
it's like a 80s rock album cover art
It's
or something.
badass.
It's like the whole movie is
definitely.
like designed like this. It's awesome.
did you guys catch how Nicolas Cage never talks in that scene to the chemist? And it's like it's a one-way telepathy conversation. The chemist is
That's
reading
true.
his mind. At one point he's like, "Oh,
They
they did
wronged
messed up.
you, friend.
I don't know why they gotta be like that."
It's cool, man. Jovan warrior sent forth from the eye of the storm. That's Lizzie. When she's calm, I know it's good.
I thought that scene was really cool. Thanks for bringing us back to that, Pappy. Like, when Nic Cage walks in, the chemist starts, like, grabbing this golden gun. And then, I don't know if he realizes the guy behind him is innocent, or he just, like, stands no chance against Nic Cage. But he, like, stands down, and they have this complete conversation telepathy, which, Pappy, it leads to... Yeah, he just says, what, they're north? Is that all he...
But yeah, basically he uses his mouth like a radar dish and says north. But Josh, did you have a favorite of the Manson family kills? We took all the demons. What did any of those stick out to you? Yeah.
I'll just start it off and go with Brother Swan. He's camping out above their like weird church thing, and he sees their van leaving, and I guess he threw down spikes. So the van drives over a couple of spikes, it blows the tires, and as soon as Brother Swan pops out of the van, he just starts like punching him in the face, and he ends up killing him with like the handle of his axe, which he had sharpened down super sharp. Kind of reminded me of Bone Tomahawk with like the spiking in the
That was a
mouth.
brutal kill.
Oh yeah, it
It's
was.
better to burn out than to.
Which we just saw that line in Highlander not too recently. And we all know that was a Kurt Cobain classic.
Neil Young.
Throws that razor blade.
I know, people falsely attribute that to Kurt Cobain. Sometimes.
Was that the death where he told like the Mandy that got coaxed into it to kind of leave?
Yeah.
Was that like when like he had like the other girl with him?
Yeah,
And then Nic Cage
yeah.
didn't like touch her, but he just slowly shoved the end, like the handle down that dude's throat gruesomely.
Yes.
Mhm.
It was brutal.
Yeah, he has mercy on the other girl, I guess, because she was just kind of like more of a victim. She didn't really participate too much, although she did kind of participate. She was like holding Mandy's head when they were like putting the LSD in her eyes and the hornet and all that. But yeah, she was more innocent at least.
Yeah, this is like Nic Cage's mini version of the Nuremberg trials, I guess. Not
There
some,
you go.
Yeah, she was just following directions, I guess. So he lets her go.
Yeah. Yeah. Showed some mercy.
Who wants to take the next death?
Who is it? Is it the Slackjaw?
Well, the Slackjaw is
Slackjaw?
easy. He just throws like
Yeah.
a axe at his head. That one's really quick, right? Kind of merciful.
Yeah. Merciful.
He's
Exactly.
like playing some Spanish music from his car while he waxes it.
Is it the chainsaw fight that's after that?
Oh, yeah.
The chainsaw fight was pretty fucking awesome, man. It was a highlight. Just sheer absurdity.
I also saw this in theaters. Did your theater crack up when the bigger chainsaw was revealed?
Oh yeah, for sure. People were really getting into it when that happened.
It's
They
so
realized
over
some
the
crazy
top.
shit was going to go down. It really is. So I'll tell you guys right now, just because I'm a pretty big horror movie fan, seen a lot of them. This is basically an exact duplication of a scene from a movie called Phantasm 2. That's like a really over-the-top 80s horror movie. Basically, the main character, who has like an average-sized chainsaw, goes to fight a bad guy in the morgue,
6
and the bad
inches.
guy, and the bad guy pulls out a big-ass chainsaw. So, I mean, it's basically an homage / direct carbon copy of that. It's definitely like purposeful, like I think the guy did it as like, an homage to that movie. And then also in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, there's Dennis Hopper has a chainsaw battle with Leatherface too. That's kind of like that. So I think it was just kind of an homage to those movies, but nonetheless, it was badass. I loved it. It was a great moment.
So awesome.
Yeah. I liked how Nic Cage was struggling to start the chainsaw too. That added some nice tension to it.
He
It's
was
like,
a pro,
oh, shit.
couldn't get it started.
That's
true.
right, man. He's a freaking lumberjack. What the hell?
Pappy, he then heads inside and he meets the lady Pappy inside.
The
And
lady
you're-
Pappy, which
God.
the design on the church is freaking awesome too. There's
Oh
like
my
It
God,
really
yeah.
was.
I don't know if it's like a miniature or if probably, I guess, right? Is that how they I don't know. Or just
Hard
like
to
dolly
say.
shot.
Hard to say.
Yeah, but it looks
I don't know.
awesome. It's like this big. It looks like something from Reddit /r/evil buildings. Like it's like this big,
That's a thing? Damn, I gotta check that out.
pretty good
There's a Reddit for
subreddit.
that.
Yeah, but anyway,
Very
he goes
cool.
in, and like I was saying, I don't know if she's trying to like seduce him. Like that's just like her go-to play, because she knows like the jig's up. But we don't really see
Yep.
her death. All we see is the Jeremiah or whatever. He's in there like humping a rock or something. I have no idea what he's doing. But Nic Cage announces his presence by throwing her head into the room. So presumably she was decapitated or something.
And then he freaks out and kicks it away.
He was not prepared for that.
Come no closer. God is in this room.
It's at this point where that Charles Manson character kind of goes through the whole gamut of all his ploys that you can tell have worked on people. Like he's going to cleanse Red. He's going to, like Red
suck his dick.
He's going to suck his dick. He says like, I don't know. He goes to the flattering route. He goes to like your worthless route. He tries like everything. It doesn't work at all. Did you guys think that this final, and I mean, some people call me final boss, so I always look for that final boss character in movies, but did you feel like he went out kind of weakly, like didn't summon any crazy powers at the end or something?
He did. He totally did, man. It was satisfying, like him, Cage crushing his skull with his bare hands was pretty fucking satisfying. But you're right, man. Like it kind of it changed around the formula. Like you said, he fought the demons first, and so like building up to the demons, and then when he gets to Jeremiah Sand at the end, I mean, it's a one-sided encounter. Like, it's more of a psychological battle, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about, like, how would it have been different if Jeremiah Sand, I don't know, had something, summoned another demon, had some magic arcane powers, had a weapon. I don't really know.
I think
had the Horn of the Praxis.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of to show that this guy is just straight full of shit. He doesn't have any power at all. So him going out so easy is just kind of like just the reveal that he really has no control over these people, really.
He's weak.
Yeah, he's just a weak character, I guess. Not a weak character, just a weak man. Not as important as he thinks he is.
But the visual of his head popping like a grape is awesome. It's so good.
It was glorious.
Yeah.
It's like Game of Thrones all over again.
That is probably the most horrifying death I've ever seen. Is that Game of Thrones skull crush? I did
love his ending words to Jeremiah Sand, though. Like when he squeezes in his head and he just goes, "I am your god," and pops it like a grape, like Pap said. That was awesome.
Oh yeah. It was fucking epic, man.
But
I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Pat.
I was gonna say that's another point though too, because like if we're just describing it, like all of the voices though at this point are super like distorted. Like you're like tripping real hard or something. You know what I mean? Like all of the
like demonic
voices are like even Nic Cage's voice is like
I'm your god now.
Well, he goes on that drug binge, and everything kind of changes to that at that point in the movie, but the audience gets it from that perspective too. Like the audience is like quote unquote getting more, drugged up as Nic Cage does, which is pretty cool. And just talking about the audio in this, I really thought the score was interesting and spooky and 80s feeling, even though I don't think everything was from the 80s. But also the sound design, like they played this little trick a lot where people were talking and you're kind of wondering if you could hear this deeper demon-y voice behind it or not.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And then at the very end, like, Nic Cage is like full demon voice. Is he bad at the end?
Nah. He's just tripping.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. That's a good question. I mean, it's like he basically becomes like one of the demon bikers, the Black Skulls, more or less. But yet he's fighting for good, so he's kind of an anti-hero. I mean, like he basically like accesses the dark powers within himself in order to go on this, killing spree rampage of revenge. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's difficult to say, like, is he bad? I don't know, man. We're getting into like the eye for an eye moral argument here.
He just had too much California sunshine. He'll be fine. Lay down in bed, put on some Allman Brothers. It'll pass in like 8 hours.
The Carpenters.
Allman Brothers. Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention, because like Nic Cage at this point pretty much just sets their building on fire and walks out, and that's the end of the movie. But did anyone catch maybe the sound he made as his skull crushed?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Release of tension is what it sounded like.
It sounded like the quickening.
Okay.
The quickening from Highlander.
It was very weird.
An orgasmic release of tension. Yeah.
I'm sure he felt great at the time killing that guy. I don't know if you'd feel that good, but
then just silence over the credits. No music, no nothing. Just think about what you just saw as you walk out of the theater.
Yeah.
If a sneeze is like 1/7 of an orgasm, squashing someone's skull with their bare hand is like 2/7.
It's gotta be 8/7 of an orgasm. Nic Cage.
All right, I think we've earned getting into our yes or no segment where we'll all give a binary, just straight up thumbs up or thumbs down to the movie and tell what our final thoughts were on it. Pap, do you want to lead us off?
Yes, for me. One of my favorite movies of the year. So glad people are out there making weird, crazy-ass movies like this. Just know what you're getting into, though. It's like Josh said, it's not exactly, Evil Dead 2, where it's an 80-minute thrill ride. It's more of a slow burn that escalates into some crazy-ass violence. So, yes for me, and one of my favorite Nic Cage movies. 2-movie club for Nic Cage on this podcast.
What was our first?
Face Off.
Face Off, yeah.
No, 3-movie club, because adaptation, too.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
3-movie club, Nic Cage.
So if you're a spoilers Nic Cage completist, check out those other 2 pods.
Yeah. The greatest honor an actor can receive, the 3-movie club.
Yeah, this is 2 big thumbs up. This has got to be kind of like the most visually stunning movie of the year so far that I've seen. And you just got to go see it because the way everything is lit is insane. There's a lot of crazy light tricks and camera work and stuff going on, and the score is amazing, and it's very 80s. It's very like dark rock and roll. I don't know. You just got to go see it because it's pretty much in its own genre of movies at this point. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this movie. So yeah, it's a really hard thumbs up. Just go see it and check it out.
Zach, let's toss it on down to you in Central Florida.
Yeah, man, definitely a big yes from me. I think that above all else, I liked it because it was just a very unique and surprising movie. Like, I watch a lot of movies and, after a while you start to kind of see movies that follow the same predictable formula, and this movie definitely was not like that. It constantly surprises you. You're never quite sure what's going to happen next. I really liked it as far as like the cinematography, the visual storytelling. It's a very simple story and really light on dialogue, but they say a lot with the visuals, with all the symbolism that we discussed. I feel like it's the kind of thing that you could probably watch it several times and like notice more and more like kind of the visual symbolism going on. So yeah, overall, if you're a fan of 80s horror, kind of like surrealism or cult movies, definitely check it out. It's really a great ride.
This is a yes for me too, and I like what you said about it being a unique story, even though the tagline is basically just revenge plot, 101. It's really like simple, but it really gets into philosophy and spirituality, and I love this movie. And like Mikey said, the different colors and lighting tricks and schemes and double exposure and shooting with soft focus, all that stuff, I just ate it up. Huge yes for me. I love the Home Alone plot.
Always
I
comes
love that
back to
device.
Home Alone.
Always.
Oh my god. It's a great
God.
structure, man. Great plot structure.
Children of the New Dawn of the Sticky Bandits. Good lord.
Yeah, well, I mean, the
Mind
Sticky
blown.
Bandits were like these people that were doing wrong and getting away with it, and someone had to stop them.
Someone had to take a stand. It was Kevin McAllister.
Stevie, bring us
Oh
home,
my
buddy.
God.
Oh, I absolutely love this movie. My favorite movie of the year by far. I'd be surprised if one tops it. Like Mikey said, the color schemes are great, and just the fact that it was Nic Cage, I think, makes it even cooler because he's been on a downward spiral forever.
Poor guy.
It's good to see him like in a really good movie. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think like in 20 years from now, people will still be talking about this movie, or at least referencing it. And my hope is like more movies like this are made. So definite yes.
Pappy, before we toss to Spoiler Man and end it, was there any feedback you wanted to read on this episode?
Was there? I don't think so.
I have two Instagram comments. The Star Spangled Avenger said of this movie, great film, one of my favorites of the year, and Jake Kyle Loser said, probably the best movie I've seen in 2018, tired of the superhero crap.
Whoa.
Well, I like how, didn't his profile have like Darth Vader? And he's like calling out superheroes. He's got a Star Wars.
Come on, man, that's a fan. Come on.
Whatever, yeah.
Zach, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Definitely, man. Thanks so much for having me, guys. It was a good time.
It was a blast. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, man.
I think that's it.
Take care, guys.
Take it away, Spoiler Man.
Our Instagram is Podcast Spoilers. It's lit.
Special thanks to Space Lion DC for the music. Devin Caraway. Hashtag Heaven for Devin.
That was Spoilers.